Hi everyone, and welcome to Two Player Quest, where I help you on your quest to find the best two-player board games for you. In today's video, I have Etherfields by Awaken Realms. In Etherfields, you travel through the dreamworld to try to restore your memories. So you have to explore, use logic, instinct, and you need a keen eye to sort of get through these dreams safely. How does the game play, and is it a good game for two players? Well, let's explore. Etherfields is a game for 1 to 4 players that plays in 90 to 180 minutes per session, is what I'm going to call it at this point. I'll explain more about that later. It's at a 3.57 on Board Game Geek for complexity, so it's definitely a medium edging towards hard kind of game. And it is a high luck game. It is a bunch of random card draws, and there is some dice involved as well. So this is what the big board / your table can look like in a two-player game. So we have the sort of secret scripts. We currently use the app for that, or not the app, the web app. Just look it up on BGG. Then we have the big board. So we have one character up there with their character deck. Then at the top part here is what is called the dreamscape. So that is where your characters are walking around. Then here is where you would place dreams. I have currently not placed one there, as that would be spoiler alert. Here we have the slumber deck, we have the turn cards, and then next to the turn cards, we have cards that we would add to the dreamscape while we are in the dream world. Then I have a lot of tokens in this tub here. This is the time track. This is where you'd put seasons once you get them, items once you get them. Here we have the floor deck and the fate deck, which we will get to in a moment. And down here we have the dream world. So you have the dream world at the bottom, the dreamscape at the top. Now this is going to be a quick explanation about how you do a turn, as it is quite a big complex game. I am not going to explain everything. I suggest you watch a video about how that works elsewhere. Every character has their own deck, their own player board, and I have added the 2 player references. Well, they're 1 player references, 1 on either side. So if you have 2 players, you can have 2, as there are 4 in total, to look at. Now, at the start of your turn, once you do something on the dreamscape, you draw 4 cards to a max of a hand limit of 6. These cards have symbols here with colours with what they can do. That can be seen on these cards here. For example, you can spend 1 yellow symbol to do 1 movement. You can add these together. So for example, if you needed 4 red, you could play these cards for a 4 red action. Certain cards, for example, will say this is an assault 6, so you would need 6 red tokens, or 6 red points in this case. And other cards have special abilities at the bottom. Here it will tell you the cost, if there is any, and then what the ability does. In this game, the players, or the dreamers, can do things simultaneously. So we draw cards at the same time, and we can play cards at the same time. So you can quickly wait for your fellow player if they want to do something and you would like to respond to that, but you are not bound by turn order. And that is frankly a quick overview. You draw 4 cards, you play however many cards you wish to play, and then you go to the dreamscape phase. In the dreamscape phase, you would resolve entity effects or dream effects, which again, spoiler alert, I will not show you at this point, and you discard the top turn card. This is basically the amount of turns that you would have in a dream. There are also certain other extra things that you could do, like peeking at a card, so discarding a card to have a look at the card of the dream. You can gain the shiny blue gems, which can then be used for re-rolling, for example. So those can be very useful, but you can also use them for other things in the game. The game will tell you more about that. Once you have gotten through a dream, you enter the dream world, which is over here. So you would have to get to certain places via the map of the dream world to enter at the right spot. So everything here has separate rules on how they work, what it is. For example, this is a fate card, and you would draw a fate card and do what it says. Next, the red one, for example, is a slumber card. You would draw a slumber card and do what it says. Dreams have a win and a fail condition and will tell you what happens when you win or fail. And that's basically the game. You keep going until you keep going. We haven't reached the end yet, so you just keep going. On cards, you can also see what would happen if a dreamer dies, for example. So you would resolve 242I on a death, for example. So the game basically tells you what to do. It's one big story. Teaching Etherfields to new players can be quite complex. The bare essentials for doing a turn will probably take you 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how quickly they sort of pick things up. Everything around that, so everything in the dream world rather than the dreamscape, like the slumber deck, the fate cards, and the floor cards, that will take some extra explanation that, if you want to do that all up front, will probably take you about an extra 5 to 15 minutes, depending on how quickly they sort of catch on to things. Now, if you have one player who knows what to do when, so who knows, for example, how the dream world works properly and knows how to handle the slumber cards, then that time can be reduced to, you can probably get started in about 10 minutes with the explanation of how to do your turns. If you are looking for a complex deck building game, then this could certainly be an interesting game for you. You do have to like the dream aspect of the game. So sometimes it can be quite weird, quite wacky, quite different, and that has to be something that you like, because if you don't, then this is not a good fit. It's very interesting that pretty much every deck in this game can be deck built, as they shall call it. So not only your sort of personal hand deck, but also the slumber deck. Well, you can't really deck build the turn cards, at least not that we know just yet, but you can deck build the fate deck, for example, and the floor deck. And things get added the longer you play the game. So more aspects are added to the game the more you play. So it starts out relatively simple, and it does get more complex as you get through the game. Another thing is that this is not the best game for a weekly game night, unless you can put it on a table somewhere, or else you're going to need to take pictures of what's happening. Because there are no sort of good start and stop places in this game, and you have your character throughout multiple dreams, as I shall call it, you generally can only properly store it when you're doing an awakening, and you don't want to do that after every game, because that means you get rid of all of your XP, you get rid of all of your progress cards. So it's, to me, not good for a weekly game night. You kind of really want to sit and dig into the game, and then at some point do an awakening, and that's when you can put it away. So returning to the point of not having a good point to save, you go from the dream world into a dream. So then you set up the dream escape to do said dream. Once you finish said dream, you end up back in the dream world. Now, technically, that could be a good point to stop, but it doesn't always make sense time-wise, because sometimes a dream could take you 3 hours. Sometimes a dream can take you an hour, and then the dream world is going to take you an hour, and it doesn't have proper sort of time signatures in it. So we found it hard to sort of decide when to stop, where to stop, how we're doing things. That's why I think this is not a good game for a game night, because there is not really good times for certain things. We like the game. It's weird and complex in its own sort of weird, fun way. We like the dream theme. At some points it can be slightly annoying, but most of the time it's a lot of fun. We like the deck building aspect of the game, though at certain points it can be very frustrating. Now, the hand deck building is great. You can buy new influence cards with your XP when you go to a shop, and at that point you can add them to your hand, and you can choose whether you want to keep certain cards in your hand deck or whether you want to put them aside, because you don't have to get rid of them, you don't have to sell them. You can at some point sell them, but the game will tell you how or what. So that's a lot of fun. But once you get to the slumber deck and the deliverance, once you get to that point, it can get very frustrating because there are several options. You have to choose the right deliverance, and if you don't choose the right deliverance, then that will have cost you XP or a lot of progress to do basically nothing that doesn't even necessarily have a positive outcome. So that did cause a bit of frustration for us, but other people love that puzzle. So certainly keep track of what certain things do, say, and how they work is my hint. After about 7 or 8 games, so 7 or 8 sort of dreams and the dreamworld part of the game, we had had enough at that point. It had been about 2 weeks of solely playing this game, and we thought to ourselves, that's a good place to stop. We did our first awakening at that point, and that's when we decided to stop. The dreamworld started to get a bit repetitive because you kept just going through the motions to get what we needed, and we had just finished a dreamscape dream that just didn't really completely sit right with us. We didn't enjoy it that much. So for us, we knew that was the point that we said, we need to stop now, put it in the cupboard and come back to it when we feel positive about it again. Because if you play something for, I want to say, at least 15 to 20 hours in about a 2-week span, you might have enough of it at some point. But for now, it's going back into our cupboard. We look forward to returning to it when we fancy it. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching our review of Etherfields. If you want to see another one of my reviews, you can click up here. If you have any comments, feedback, or suggestions, please put them down below. And I look forward to seeing you next time on 2 Player Quest.